Howdy Moz fans, and welcome to another edition of Whiteboard Friday. This week we're going to chat about blog posts and more broadly content length and publishing frequency. So these are things where a lot of the posts that you might read, for example, if you were to Google ideal blog post length or ideal publishing frequency, will give you data and information that come from these sources of, here's the average length of content of the top 10 results in Google across a 5,000 keyword set. And you can see that somewhere between 2,350 and 2,425 words is the ideal length, so that's what you should aim for. And I am going to call a big fat helping of baloney on that. Like that is just, it's not only dead wrong, it's really misleading. In fact, I get frustrated when I see these types of charts used to justify this information because that's not right at all. Anytime you see this, if you see a chart or data like this to suggest, hey, this is how long you should make a post because here's the length of the average thing in the top 10, you should ask very careful questions like, what set of keywords does this apply to? Is this a big, broad set of 5,000 keywords and some of them are navigational and some of them are informational and some of them are transactional and maybe a few of them are e-commerce keywords and a few of them are travel related and a few of them are in some other sector? Because honestly, what does that mean? That's sort of meaningless, right? Especially if the standard deviation is quite high, right? If we're talking about like, oh, well, many things that actually did rank number one were somewhere between 500 words and 15,000 words. Well, so what does the average tell me? How is that helpful? That's not actually useful or prescriptive information. In fact, it's almost misleading to make that prescriptive. You should secondarily ask, do the keywords that I care about, the ones that I'm targeting, do they have similar results? Does the chart look the same? Right? If you were to take a sample of, let's say, 50 keywords that you cared about, and you were to get the average content length of the top 10 results, would it resemble that? Would it not? Does it have a high standard deviation? Is there a big delta because some keywords require a lot of content to answer them fully, and some keywords require very, very small amounts of content, and Google has prioritized accordingly? Is it wise then to aim for the average when a much larger article would be much more appreciated and be much more likely to succeed, or a much shorter one would do far better? Why are you aiming for this average if that's the case? And third, you might ask the question, is correlation the same as causation? And the answer is hell no, never has been, big fat no. Correlation doesn't even necessarily imply causation. And in fact, I would say that anytime you're looking at an average, especially on this type of stuff, correlation and causation are totally separate, right? It is not because the number one result is 2,450 words that it happens to rank number one. That Google does not work that way, right? Never has, never will. Instead of trusting these big unknown keyword set averages, you should look at your keywords and your search results and what's working versus not in those specific ones. B, be willing to innovate. Be willing to say, hey, you know what? I see that this content, today, the number one, number two, number three rankings are in these sorts of averages, but I actually think you could answer this with much shorter content and many searchers would appreciate it. I think these folks who are currently ranking are over content creating and they don't need to be. And C, you should match your goals and your content goals with searcher goals. And that's how you should determine the length that you should put in there. If you are trying to help someone solve a very specific problem and it is an easily answerable question and you're trying to get the featured snippet, you probably don't need thousands of words of content. Likewise, if you're trying to solve a very complex query and you have a ton of resources and information that no one else has access to, you've done some really unique work, this may be way too short for what you're aiming for. All right, let's switch over to publishing frequency where you can probably guess. I'm going to give you similar information. So a lot of times you'll see, how often should I publish? Oh, look, people who publish more, 11 times or more per month, they get way more traffic than people who publish only once a month. Therefore, clearly, I should publish 11 or more times per month. Why is the cutoff at 11? Does that make any sense to you? Are these visits all valuable to all the companies that were part of whatever survey was in here? Did one blog post account for most of the traffic in the 11 plus, and it's just that the other 10 happened to be posts where they were practicing or trying to get good, and it was just one that kind of shot out of the park there? I would ask questions like, who's in the set of sites analyzed? Are they similar to me? Do they target a similar audience? Are they in my actual sector? What's the relative quality of the content? And how savvy and targeted are the efforts at earning traffic? Is this guy over here, are we sure that all 11 posts were just as good as the one post this person created? Because if not, I'm comparing apples and oranges. What's the quality of the traffic? What's the value of the traffic? Maybe this person is getting a ton of really valuable traffic and this person over here is getting very little. You can't tell from a chart like this, right? That this is, especially when it's averaged in this way. What things might matter more than raw frequency? Well, matching your goals to your content schedule. If one of your goals is to build up subscribers, like Whiteboard Friday, right, where people know it and they've heard of it, they have a brand association with it. It's called Whiteboard Friday. It should probably come out once a week on Friday, right? There's a frequency implied in the content, and that makes sense. But you might have goals that only demand publishing once a quarter, or once a month, or once a week, or once every day, and that's okay. But you should tie those together. Consistency, we have found, is almost always more important than raw frequency, especially if you're trying to build up that consistent audience and a subscriber base. So I would focus on that, not how I should publish more often, but I should publish more consistently so that people will get used to my publishing schedule and will look forward to what I have to say. And also so that you can build up a cadence for yourself and your organization. And third, crafting posts that actually earn attention and amplification and help your conversion funnel goals, whatever those might be, over raw traffic, right? It's far better if this person got 50 new visits who turned into 5 new paying customers than this person who published 11 posts and got 1 new paying customer out of all 11. That's a lot more work and expense for a lot less ROI. I'd be careful about that. One aside I would say about publishing frequency. If you're early stage, or if you're trying to build a career in blogging or in publishing, it's great to publish a lot of content. Great writers become great because they write a lot of terrible crap and then they improve. And the same is true with web publishers. If you look at Whiteboard Friday #1 or blog post #1 from me, you're going to see pretty miserable stuff. But over time, by publishing quite a bit, I got better at it. So if that is your goal, yes, publishing a lot of content, more than you probably need, more than your customers or audience probably needs, is good practice for you, and it will help you get better. All right, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed this edition of Whiteboard Friday. We'll see you again next week. Take care.